Hi everyone, welcome to Intune reinvents Mac management. My name is Arnab Biswas. I'm a senior product manager in the Apple MDM team at Microsoft Intune, and I'm joined by my colleagues Ernesto and Neil for this session.
Hello everybody, my name is Ernesto Lara Matthews. I am the engineering manager responsible for all things Apple MDM in Microsoft Intune.
Hi everyone, I am Neil Johnson. I am part of our customer experience team and I focus on everything that's not Windows.
In this session, we'll cover how we think about Mac management in Intune and why it matters, followed by deep diving into our key areas of investments in device configuration, onboarding, and apps management. Intune has always been about providing our customers choice and flexibility. The need to build first-class Mac management in Intune was born as the footprint of Macs started to grow in the enterprise back in 2019. We have been building our Mac management story and actively listening to customer feedback to adapt to your needs. As a recognized unified endpoint management leader in the industry, it is our objective that we create the best managed Mac experience for Microsoft 365 customers. And these are the four principles that guide the investments we make in Intune Mac management. Intune is the zero trust foundation in Microsoft 365 on Macs. We believe in modern management, and that means that first and foremost, we support the built-in macOS capabilities that lets IT secure a Mac. And this means day zero support for new operating systems, new device configuration and settings as they become generally available, and staying on top of platform shifts. Intune was born in the cloud and built with scale and resiliency in mind. Device compliance and conditional access are built on this MDM foundation that evaluates the overall risk of the device when accessing protected resources. But we know that one size does not fit all, and the platform alone does not meet the more advanced or custom IT needs. And that's why we built the Intune macOS agent. The objective with the agent is to not only enable advanced IT scenarios like scripting, more advanced app scenarios, log collection, etc., but to also provide trusted signals to other Microsoft 365 services that enable advanced scenarios across the board. And of course, we are lucky to have a vibrant and active open source community in the Mac management space. We often hear how IT uses several of these open source tools to achieve their goals on managed Macs. And we want you to be able to use those tools alongside Intune if you choose to. As you hear us talk about the different areas of Mac management, these themes should resonate with you. And with that, I will hand off to my colleague Ernesto to walk us through how we're rethinking device configurations for Macs in Intune.
Thank you, Arnav. Today, I'm excited to talk about device configuration. This represents several months of hard work that we are really proud of. Let's take a look at the overview. Settings Catalog is the new and exciting way to configure devices across all the platforms we support. This has simplified the authoring process on our site, and it has allowed us to deliver a substantial volume of new settings over a relatively short amount of time. On the Apple MDM side, we wanted to go even further, to automatically ingest new settings from Apple as they publish them in their official documentation. Settings will be supported with the Intune release immediately following Apple publishing them. Next, commands-based support settings are now added to the settings catalog, for example, Bluetooth. And finally, I'm going to talk about declarative device management. Apple DDM is the future of device management, and we're all in supporting it fully. We have created our settings catalog infrastructure from the get-go with DDM in mind from its inception. Let's take a mini deep dive into the settings catalog and the automated ingestion of settings. First, Apple releases their documentation in a publicly available Git repo as YAML documents. Apple themselves uses this document as the basis to publish their official documentation on their website. We on Intune take those YAML documents, we ingest them and transform them into metadata to be stored in the settings catalog. Our internal infrastructure uses that metadata to, number one, expose and render the settings in the management console via our settings catalog experience. And number two, dynamically process the settings to be forwarded to the devices once they are configured. It sounds like magic, but it's not quite. This requires a substantial engineering investment from our side, as well as a close partnership with Apple to make it possible. These investments allow Intune to support new Apple settings with the release immediately following Apple's announcement. Settings catalog commands. Apple implements certain configurations in the device as a one-time issued command. Those commands need to be reissued periodically in order to keep the device in the desired state. With our September release, we added capabilities to the settings catalog to be able to manage these configurations. We started with the managed settings and then followed shortly with Bluetooth. In the near future, we will be adding support for fileable rotation as well as remote desktop. Supporting commands-based settings further enhances that modern management experience provided by our settings catalog. I'm going to talk about DDM. DDM stands for Declarative Device Management. It was announced by Apple in WWDC 2021. It is meant to address matters of efficiency, battery usage, and ease of management. In a nutshell, MDM is imperative and reactive. This is a 12 years old protocol. It is commands-based, and it is extremely chatty between device and service, as can be appreciated in the picture. Interactions are initiated by the service via push notification, with no guarantee that the device is in a state that can service those requests. Commands sent to the device have to be calculated runtime during checking. This poses some challenges for scale. DDM is declarative and proactive. It is declaration-based. The admin just expresses a desired state. The device then maintains said state independently and proactively, in addition to providing rich status updates to the service as things change within the device itself. Interactions are initiated by the device, so the device is ready to execute. Declarations can be pre-computed at the moment of assignment. This results in vast improvements to our scaling ability. With DDM as the future of Apple device management, we are committed to keep building improvements on top of this new protocol. Let's take a look at an example of a feature built on top of DDM, declarative software updates. This feature was recently announced by Apple in WWDC 2023. We have released initial support in Intune with our October release. This provides a simplified model for software updates. The admin simply defines a desired version and a desired deadline for it to be applied. The device then will prompt the user periodically to install the upgrade or force the update when the deadline is reached. Please refer to the demo presented during the keynote for a look at the experience. Additional improvements will be coming over future releases for this feature. This is just one great example of the power of DDM. More exciting features will be coming built on top of it. Finally, I wanted to reassert our commitment to continue our investment in device configuration, particularly for macOS. As mentioned, improvements on the initial software update experience will be released in the near future. Second, curated templates to pre-select a subset of relevant settings from the settings catalog based on management intent will be released. Additional commands will be supported in the settings catalog in the upcoming months. Finally, file upload will enable support of fonts, wallpapers, and other configurations via the settings catalog. We're really excited for what's to come in the device configuration space. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Neil, who's going to be talking about onboarding.
Thanks, Ernesto. So I'm going to talk to you about the onboarding roadmap, so some of the new things that we've got coming over the next quarter or so. One of the things that you will have heard us talk about and you will have seen at Apple's WWDC event in the summer is Platform SSO. This is the extension of the innovation that was already created in the Apple SSO extension for enterprise. This particular feature for Platform SSO allows us two new modes. It allows us a password sync mode and secure enclave mode. Password sync is absolutely fantastic and allows your end users to synchronize their Entra ID passwords to their local Mac passwords. So no more of those calls to support to have their local Mac passwords reset. And Secure Enclave is a different mode of Platform SSO that allows your end users to benefit from the Platform SSO single sign-on characteristics across the mobile apps, across the Mac apps, but does so without synchronizing the password down to your Macs. So if you are dealing with passwordless auth and you have really long passwords in Entra ID, then that allows you to deal with that scenario. Also, Platform SSO automatically joins the Mac to Entra ID. So there's no second step after your ADE authentication. Platform SSO is unique to macOS 14 Sonoma. We've got some new options. We can use Smart Card as the authentication method for those environments that are using smart cards. And we also have the capability to enable create user at login. And we can control whether that user is a standard user or an admin user. To be clear here, this is the second user. You still need to have the first user log on to set up Platform SSO, but all users after that first user can then make use of the enable create user at login feature, where they'll log in directly to Entra ID. We also have some new capabilities around ADE for local account creation. One of the benefits that Intune has is that it is part of Entra ID. So that means we know about the identity of your users, and we can use that in our setup assistant flow. In this particular feature, you can see from the screenshot that we are creating the local primary user account, and we're pre-filling the data based on variables from Entra ID. So we're using partial UPN here and username here. What the end user sees when they go through Setup Assistant is that when they get to the account creation page, their username and their account name is already created for them, and they just need to set a password. That's going to preview in H1 next year. Again, as part of the ADE onboarding flow, we also have await final configuration. Again, this is a very, very common ask for us over the years. And ultimately, this holds the Mac in Setup Assistant until we've completed first device check-in. And that's a great feature because it means that the device is prepared and secured with the capabilities, so the restrictions policies that we need to be applied before the end user is released to their desktop. And again, that's previewing for Mac in H1 next calendar year. A very similar feature to the one we've already released for iOS. I'm going to do a quick demo now of Platform SSO with passwordless Entra Auth. So you can see here, this is the ADE setup assistant flow where I need to give the Mac its Wi-Fi password so it can get access to the network. This is the standard ADE auth flow into Entra ID. One of the nice things here is it's using passwordless auth. So I've not had to type my password in here, and it's just pinged Authenticator on my phone that I previously set up. I'm now doing the first user creation. You'll notice here the password is only 4 characters, so I've used a really short, insecure password. I'm going to enable location services so the Mac knows where it is. Now, what happens here is we get this notification on the Mac desktop to tell us we need to begin our Platform SSO authentication. So we sign in, again, passwordless authentication. The device is checked to make sure it's compliant. So we validate that the Mac meets our compliance policy. We now need to type in the local keychain password to get access and write some credentials. Now here we need to type in our actual Entra ID password. And you'll notice it's quite a long password compared to the one I used for the local account. But that's synchronized. So now when I sign out and I sign back in again, if I try and sign in with the old short password, it is rejected. And I now sign into my Mac with the long password from Entra. So now that's synchronized. Okay, so now what we're going to do is launch Outlook. This is the first time Outlook has been launched, and you'll notice here that it doesn't prompt me for my username and it doesn't prompt me for my password. It already knows who I am and what my credentials are to access that. And that is the combination of platform SSO and the settings catalog, some variables that we push down for Office that Ernesto was demonstrating in the previous section. This is a slide that shows exactly the same flow, but all on one page. So if anyone wants to see what the whole thing looks like in one go, this is the slide to show you that. This is showing from the first step, so set up assistant, asking us who we are. We then go through the initiation of platform SSO. We then need to provide our privileged access to our keychain. Then we need to do the Entra ID join. So that's workplace joining the workplace registering the Mac. And then we finally need to enter our Entra ID password so that we can synchronize that to the local Mac. This is for the password sync option. The second option we have here is for secure enclave. This is very similar in the capabilities around single sign-on, but it does not synchronize the password to the Mac. So this is quite useful if your Entra ID passwords are very long and complex. For example, if you're using perhaps Windows Hello for Business elsewhere in your organization, those really long passwords, we probably don't want them synchronized to our local Macs. So if we configure this, we have the same onboarding experience with Setup Assistant. We register the Mac in the same way, but we do not require the final UI screen where we synchronize the password down to the Mac. So in summary, for onboarding, Intune macOS onboarding over the next 6 months, we will have a public preview of platform SSO. We have a public preview of local account management and a public preview of await final configuration. So some great new features from us. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Arnab, who's going to talk about Mac deployment of apps.
Thanks, Neil. App deployment has always been a crucial part of securing the device and enabling your users to do their best work with the tools they need. Over the last few years, we have fundamentally improved the app management experience for our IT admins and end users. We initially led with deep support for managed app scenarios, including PKG deployment through MDM, as well as support for store, purchased, and custom apps through Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager. We also simplified PKG upload to Intune so that it's as simple as drag and drop and remove the need to use the app wrapping tool, which made the app deployment workflow totally frictionless and did not require a Mac any longer. But we heard from customers that they needed Intune to provide a more robust app management solution to unblock additional common app types such as DMG and more variations of PKGs. So we built a new app deployment pipeline using the Intune macOS agent that now extends the built-in macOS app management capabilities. We first led with DMG support that included DMG files containing one or more .app files, followed by the addition of PKG installation using the built-in installer command. But we're not stopping there. We just added support for pre- and post-install script for PKG installers to provide additional control and flexibility to admins, and are also going to expand our app size limit to 8 gigabytes very shortly for both DMG and PKG type of apps. While DMG and PKG type of apps currently only support required deployments, we intend to build an available assignment experience in the web and company portal apps for Mac next year. We believe that the combination of these new capabilities unblocks most app needs for our customers. But if you have got an app that Intune cannot deploy, we would like to hear about it. So now, let's take a look at how powerful the pre-install and post-install scripts are in app deployment. If you have deployed Microsoft Defender for Endpoint on Mac, you're aware how critical it is to ensure that the dependent system extensions and onboarding XML are deployed before the app is installed. so that users have a zero-touch Defender onboarding experience and your help desk costs are minimized. Now, with pre-installed script support, I can easily write a script that waits until the relevant payloads are present on the managed Mac, as you see here. And next, I can also write a post-install script that writes the connectivity test and puts it in a file that I can access later on if troubleshooting needs arise. And as I go ahead and deploy this profile and switch back to the end user experience, we can see here that the device currently does not have MDE installed. And as the device is checking in with Intune and receiving its policies, and it has pushed down the Defender payloads that it's dependent on, we can see that Defender now starts installing on the device without requiring any interaction from the end user. And now if we rerun the connectivity test for MDE, we see that it is successful and the threat protection definitions are also updated automatically on the device. So this really demonstrates how the end user experience can be guaranteed now with the control that the pre-installed scripts provide to make sure that your users have a zero-touch experience on Defender for Endpoint. Now, I will hand off to Neil to tell us about the new Microsoft Mac Admins community and wrap up.
Thanks, Arnab. So one of the things that we launched earlier this year was the Microsoft Mac Admins community. This community was built especially to connect our Mac customers to the Mac engineering teams here at Microsoft. It's based on Viva Engage, which means it integrates with Teams, which is great for us, and it means that we can tag our engineering teams directly to issues and conversation threads as they arise. This community has also been really vibrant with our Mac engineering teams looking for roadmap information. So in here, you will quite often see our peers from Defender, from Edge, and also within Intune and Office asking for the community's feedback on potential engineering features that we'll build in the future. So rich and vibrant community, and we'd love you to take part in that if you would like to. To join, just send an email to macadmins@microsoft.com and one of us will get you added. If you're having any issues getting access, then drop an email to macadminshelp@microsoft.com and we'll try and sort you out with that. This slide is a super quick overview of everything we've shipped over this half and the things that we've got coming soon. So you can see here that Intune is pretty rich. We have been building capabilities pretty rapidly over the past year, and we're not slowing down. We've got a lot more features scheduled over the next half, which really will make Intune a great place for Mac management. So key takeaways. We feel that all you really need to deal with Mac management in a Microsoft 365 enterprise is Microsoft 365 itself. It has all of the security tools and management tools that you need. Intune Mac management is ideal for you if you are deploying Macs to your users and Microsoft 365 is their core usage scenario. And now is a great time to plan your Intune Mac proof of concepts if what we've showed you is interesting to you. Okay, and with that, I'd like to thank my co-presenters, Ernesto and Arnab, and wish you all a great day. Thank you.